Hi, this is Jonathan. How you guys doing? In this video, we're going to feature the topic of ear monitoring. When I was in the studio doing sessions back in the late, well, in the 90s basically, in the early 2000s, I would spend like hours in the studio recording acoustic guitar, or electric guitars. Now, I find really relaxing recording electric guitars because, you're in the control room, you're hearing the monitors, the studio monitors, you're free to do all sorts of stuff. You can drink a coffee, smoke a cigarette, hang out with your friends and at the same time doing your work. That's pretty fine. But when you're doing acoustic guitar, it's a little bit like the lockdown that we are experiencing right now. Like you're cooped up in your isolation booth, and you could be there for the remainder of the song, depending on how long you take the track or your tracks. So you just be by your lonesome in the room, and all you have is your guitar and the dreaded headphone. Now, the headphones are really important to me back then because I do sessions in many studios in Singapore, various studios, and every studios have their different preference for headphones. Some are from Sennheiser, some are from Shure, some from AKG and the Sonys, and even the Sonys have a whole lot of different ranges. But I always found that I'm most comfortable with the Sony headphones, especially this one. This is the MDR 7506. Right, the MDR 7506. So I've been using this for the longest time. But what introduced me to this particular headphone was the amount of time I spent in the studio with it. Sometimes I could be in the studio for like half a day or even a day, depending on the difficulty of the song and the recording session and what the producers want. And it's not all acoustic guitar, mind you. I would record my tracks in the acoustic guitar, come out to the control room, overdub the electric guitars, and come back into the booth again for the next song. But you spend a substantial amount of time with the microphone as well as with the headphones. Now, the thing about headphones is that it gets tiring, after you wear it for hours, and then your ears start to hurt, and that's the drawback of headphones. What you want in a headphone is a comfortable fit where you don't feel that fatigue after many hours, and of course the sound. The sound is everything. If you get a real comfortable headphone, but a pair of headphones that is real comfortable for you, but it sounds like crap, it's not worth it. So I'm looking for a headphone, a pair of headphones that give me the warm, the bass response, especially the bass response, because as a singer, I would like to pitch myself with the bass. As a player, I pitch everything against the bass, because when you play acoustic guitar, when you play electric guitar, when you do your bends, you need to hear the bass note in order to know where you're going to land, or where you're coming from, or where you have been. So the bass response is really important for my headphones. So I was looking for not a bassy headphones, like you don't hear highs, but a balanced headphone, but with good bass response that doesn't distort, and that projects cleanly the bass, and the bass drum for all the mirrors, so to keep the groove going. So good headphones is something that people have a hard time in looking for, because once in a while you chance upon a good headphones, but then the build isn't so good. So far, the Sony MDR 7506 is really good. I mean, it lasted. I bought 2 pairs of this, because the bad thing about the Sonys is that the earbuds here, they start to deteriorate after a certain time, and they'll start to flake off. And then in the end, you'll be ending with a whole lot of flakes on your floor, or wherever you stash your headphones, and all you have are just 2 pieces of sponge. But the good thing is that they actually sell replacement for this, but the replacement is so expensive, it's almost like, almost half the price of the headphone, maybe less than half. But just get a new pair of headphones. In any case, I bought 2 of this, one for each ear. No, I bought 2 of this so that I could use one, and my whoever is recording here can use the other one. So yeah, this is as far as headphones goes. When I was playing concerts back in the 90s, or even back then, we used to use floor monitors, for everything, for vocal, the drum mix, the band mix, and your guitar, if you are far away from your amp behind it. But most of the time we will depend on our amplifiers behind us. And I was using a Marshall JCM or 800, or any amps, the Fenders Deluxe, so the Roland, even the Roland one. So I can hear my guitar real clearly because it's just behind me. But then I will feed some into my floor mon so that I can actually hear the high response. And it's all cool. The drawback of having floor monitors is that you will get feedback, and sometimes the feedbacks are really, really jarring to your ears, and it's not good. And sometimes if you don't have a good monitor soundman, the mix is going to be bad, and you'll probably be suffering through the whole concert. I'm real fortunate and blessed to have really good monitor engineers from Taiwan and local in Singapore, and when I was doing shows in the States, in the Senate casinos back then, we had really good floor monitors. Monitor soundmen. Monitor engineers, and they were fine. They were real fast. They will sort out the problem. If there's any buzz, any feedback, they'll be on the ball. And then came the new era where they got rid of all the floor monitors because they didn't want too much happening on stage, where you have a whole lot of noise or sound generated from the floor monitors, and it's a headache for the FOH, the front of house monitors, because the microphones are picking up all this stuff from stage. And they decided to get rid of floor monitors, and henceforth the introduction of the IEMs. So they introduced this new thing called the Avion. Basically, it's a personal mixer where you don't have to trouble the monitor engineers. We spend a lot of time during sound check, because you'll be like signaling to the monitor soundman, too much highs and stuff like that. I want more bass, I want more guitars, less of the backup vocals and stuff like that. We were communicating back and forth, and it's a very tedious affair. That's why in sound check we spend a whole lot of time. Then came the introduction of the Avion, and basically the Avion is a personal mixer right in front of you, and you can actually adjust to your heart contents. If I want to shut off Jimmy on the drums, I could just shut him off completely, but you can never shut off Jimmy because he's so loud. So you can have your own personal mix, how much guitars you want and stuff like that. You can pan, and some of the new ones, the Avion 360 even gives you the option of having reverbs in certain instruments, and it's just pretty cool. The good thing is that I could actually get rid of my floor monitors. I would rather have my floor monitors because the floor monitors serve as a feedback for my guitar, meaning in the absence of an amp, I have the floor monitors to feedback my guitar with the pickups, and sometimes you want to get like some cool feedbacks, you can actually get that. But I tend to have my floor monitor at a minimal level so that it doesn't blow out everybody and irritate people. Basically now I'm using the Helix, so I'm going amp free. So the phone monitor is an important part of my rider, when I'm touring. But the Avion serves its purpose. You can hear everything. It's pretty cool. So when they first introduced this to me, when I started touring, in a tour where we have to use IEMs, I was at a loss because I'm old school. Basically I never use headphones on stage because I know it's going to be very uncomfortable. Now they're telling me that you could use IEMs, and I got what are IEMs? In-ear monitors. So I went to search around and I got my first pair of in-ear monitors, and this is the UE Ultimate Sound. Put out a model for this. Got this secondhand from Jimmy. Now Jimmy, as a drummer, he has a whole lot of IEMs, and while he wasn't using this, so he sold me this at a good price, I think. I don't think he rips me off, but anyway, it serves his purpose. He has this. It's a 3-driver IEM, so it has the bass response. Cool. I got along with this for the longest time, and I was touring a lot of shows with this for the longest time. And then a couple of years back, about 4 or 5 years back, my brother Eric decided to give me his IEM, and this is the Shure 846. This is the 846. I'll put on the picture of it in a close up. So basically this thing cost like $1,000 back then in US, and it's one of the top of the line IEMs that Shure has to offer, and still is. It's relatively gone down in price, and you have many variations to it. So basically this Shure 846, it has 4 drivers, and it has a low pass filter which kind of acts like a subwoofer, which was what I was looking for, and it gives you a couple of what we call a insert, for your IEM, so that you can actually change the sound, slightly alter the sound, like if you want more highs, you want more mids and stuff like that. So it's like a EQ function, but you have to take off the, it's kind of tedious, but it's okay, it's not that hard. So I got mine set to have more bass response in a way, and I'm happy. I'm hearing what I need to hear. The highs are really nice. I wasn't really sure about Shure products, pardon the pun, especially headphones. I didn't quite like them. The microphones are cool, but this one really impressed me, and I have this whole bass response and the nice highs, and I was comfortable on stage playing with this. The thing is that you can have it molded if you want to. You have your personal mode where this qualified personnel would put wax into your ears and to have the mold, and you can have your customized earbud made for you. I didn't want to go there because I don't fancy the idea of people poking around in my ears. Yeah. So I got these foam tips, from Amazon, and this will work with the SE 846. It was comfortable. It sneaks it fits real snugly, so that when it expands, it just blocks out every outside noise. The caveat is that it gets uncomfortable in time, and when you're singing, especially when you're singing on stage, you tend to move your jaw. You have that because it doesn't it's not as flexible as the rubber tips, the rubber tip ones. So after a while, I was using it for the longest time, and I found that it was a bit uncomfortable. So in the end, I changed to these rubber tip ones, and these are real soft, so it kind of fits into your ear and expands and still block out the sound, and yet a little bit more comfortable, especially when you're doing singing, when you're opening your jaws, when you're opening your mouth to sing. So it's a bit more flexible in a way. And then basically I was looking for a cheap pair of IEMs to have around as a standby, just in case I God forbid I lose my 846. So I went shopping in AliExpress, and I came upon this brand called KZ. Some of you might probably know. I actually did a video about one of the KZs, a couple of videos back. So I bought, the first one I bought was this. Now this is the KZ10, right? Which I'm still using actually. Still using for, when I'm playing, and it's good, serves well, and I can still use it as a standby REM in case anything happens to my 846. And then I have another one. So I bought another one. So this is the KZ 10 Pro. Right. So these are aluminum flashings. Right. Well, basically, these KZ10s are they actually are usable on stage if you want to. It features 4 drivers plus a dynamic driver, or in this KZ10's case, it's called a DD driver. Well, basically, it acts as a subwoofer. This has a dynamic 5th driver, which also acts as a subwoofer, but you have a more responsive bass response. Okay, this is all what they advertise. So, but I can hear a difference. I prefer this KZ10 Pro. Sounds, more comfortable, more balanced in a way. And the KZ10 is cool. It still serves its purpose, and the K10 Pro is just a bit more expensive than the K10, right? So, it's a no-brainer. I just get whatever I need, and I think the KZ10 Pro suits its purpose, so I got one. And basically that's it. So this is what I use on stage. My first choice would be the SE846, and subsequently, if I feel like I need a change, I'll probably change to the KZ10 Pro. So I thought this video will help those of you who are looking for IEMs, monitors, in-ear monitors for your recording. In this little studio of mine, I use headphones basically most of the time, unless I'm doing some vocals, especially when I'm doing vocals on screen. I'm very comfortable with my MDR 7506. So this is what I use in my studio. Right? So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you do, give me a thumbs up and join this channel. Alright, and subscribe. And a reminder that I'll see you this Friday for the live chat. My first ever live chat. I'm so nervous. So I hope to see some of you guys there at least. Right? So in the meantime, take care. I'll see you again in the next video. Ciao.